You ever wonder why less than 15% of the world's population feels the need to control 100% of the narrative? Because when you're a genetic outlier, born from a recessive mutation, with a ticking clock on your DNA, you have to lie to survive. Let's get into it.
The US population is 334 million people. 260 million of those are white. That's 78% of the population. Before colonization, there was an estimated 15 million Native Americans on Turtle Island. That figure is now 7 million. 400,000 people were forcibly brought to America during the transatlantic slave trade. Their descendants now number over 48 million. Firstly, the Americans, the real Americans, the Native Americans, were genocide at the same scale as the Irish were during the famine. Same scale, half the population gone, 15 down to 7. In Ireland it was 8 down to 4. White people, settlers, colonizers became the dominant population in America. Native people were nearly eradicated, confined to reservations, reduced and isolated and forced into very strange boarding schools that required their own video. The white people who left Britain to go to America were not okay, and the things that they did to the people that they found there were not okay. The majority of these white settlers arrived between the 17th and the 20th century. This was not a population surge, but a strategically backed intentional settler colonial project encouraged by private capital. The US government offered not only citizenship but land to European settlers that went out there. White population growth outpaces these other groups, not just because white people had more babies, but because they had higher survival rates, still do, higher access to healthcare, education, money off the land, while enforced segregation made sure that the same quality of life could not be afforded to black or brown people or natives. What happened to the Native Americans meets the UN Convention on Genocide standards. Settler colonialism doesn't rely on just killing everybody. It's replacement theory. The settler state depends on the ongoing reproduction of the settler class, and the white, nuclear, perfect little American family with their picket fence is a core mechanism of American government state power maintenance. This video is addressed at liberal white American women who read about social justice, donate to causes, march for Palestine, but you still imagine that having children is just a personal decision. That's private between you and your partner. To reproduce whiteness in this country is to participate in genocide. You are repeating it, not through violence, but through inheritance. You cannot separate your fertility from the system that holds it. Refusal is the first ethical act. Refuse to reproduce the settler fantasy. Refuse to keep passing the same power forward. You have to stop pretending that your family is neutral. You have to stop pretending that your child is just your child. In this system, your child is a carrier of settler legacy, a beneficiary of violence, unless you choose to make them something else. That choice sits with you, and it's do or die. Stop pretending that white America is normal, or that this life is innocent. The population structure of the United States today is built atop destroyed nations, stolen children, sterilized women, and a legal system designed to protect the white family, to continue unconsidered, unexamined reproduction in that system is not passive. You are actively participating in colonialism. Reproductive refusal is a form of ethical resistance to late-stage capitalism. But this is not a call to antinatalism. It is a call to break the cycle of reproduction as erasure. Many settler descendants seek spiritual meaning, whether through God or otherwise, without acknowledging or confronting the material structures that you live inside. Without truth, reflection, repentance, restitution, your spiritual claims are empty. Continuing in 2025 to just do the suburban thing while ignoring genocide is not morally neutral. You're participating in systemic violence. This is not a blanket condemnation to motherhood or a denial of your worthiness to real human love and care. I am asking you to confront the reality that white liberalism is decoration for the most oppressive system the world has ever seen. And it is white liberal women.
Okay, I'm gonna call on my fellow white people, especially like white USians and people raised in the white woman box, because that's primarily what we're talking about here. But anybody, I need to know. This says, what do you mean by white communities fall apart so often? I want to hear your stories. Stitch this or comment on if you were in a community of primarily white people that imploded. I want to hear it. Big, small, online, offline, could be anything from abuse from someone at the top to everybody disagreeing on what kind of yarn was best for a project. If you've been in a primarily white space that has imploded and gotten super dramatic, I want to hear about it.
Oh yes guys, I hope you are all doing good. Today we are diving here into this jaw-dropping claim made by a white scholar who says that there is a secret truth about white race that they do not want black people to know. She has boldly stated that white population is on track to shrink even by up to 78%, and the rise of mixed couples among white Americans is accelerating the decline. So guys, we are just here to break it down together. I just want to know your thoughts in the comment section as we break it all down, what she said and what people are saying, the people's reactions in the social media, why it's causing panic and how people are reacting nationwide. You know, when I was scrolling through the social media, there are a lot of reactions to this, and even some people ended up asking ChatGPT to prove it. Guys, the white scholar exposed these hidden truths the establishment doesn't want many people to know about it. But she said it right, and that is why we are here to break down the decline of the white population and how the rapid rise of interracial marriages among white Americans is fueling panic in certain circles. Guys, we are here just to react to these bold claims, and the intense fear that is spreading in white communities about losing dominance. Guys, let's get into the remaining clips. I'll be back so that we can discover the reactions on the scholars' claims about white population decline, why the mixed race relationships are increasing among white people, the fear, insecurity, and political panic inside white communities, and what this means for the future of America. Let's also talk about black community reactions to these revelations. Guys, join the conversation. I'll be back.
Modern Europeans carry between 2 to 4% Neanderthal DNA. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's confirmed by peer-reviewed journals like Nature, Science Advances, and Cell. The Neanderthals were not some mystical master race. They were cold-adapted hominins who lived in caves, scavenged for food, and operated in small, isolated groups. They weren't the future. They were a failed branch of the human tree. And those Neanderthal traits still show up in their descendants. Lower sociability, higher aggression, light skin and light eyes, red or straight hair, high pain tolerance, shorter limb ratios, and a disconnection from nature's rhythms. They weren't creators. They weren't builders. They were survivors of harsh, sun-starved environments until they weren't. They died out. Not because they were killed off, but because their own epigenetic behavior, their limited fertility, isolationist tendencies, and lack of social cohesion couldn't sustain their species. Their extinction is a warning, not a blueprint. So how did they live on? Through interbreeding with Homo sapiens. And that's where modern Europeans come in. The Neanderthal ghost genome lives inside them today. And ironically, that same genetic signature they carry is the very thing they now weaponize to claim superiority. But here's where it gets deeper. Even some East Africans, like Ethiopians, show slightly elevated Neanderthal DNA. Not because they interbred directly with Neanderthals, but because of Eurasian backflow. Invaders from the north came back down into Africa, carrying their DNA, trauma, and mutations with them. And even then, their percentage is far lower than what you see in white Europeans. Sub-Saharan Africans, Indigenous Americans, and Melanesians, their levels of Neanderthal DNA are negligible to non-existent because the most melanated peoples of Earth didn't need to survive the ice by digging holes. They were already thriving in cosmic alignment with Earth, Sun, and Spirit. And speaking of alignment, let's talk skin. The light skin mutation in modern humans is recent, very recent. Studies from University College London show that the SLC24A5 and SLC45A2 gene variants responsible for pale skin didn't even exist until about 6,000 years ago. Before that, even in Europe, the original populations had dark skin, dark eyes, and curly hair. In fact, Cheddar Man, a 10,000-year-old skeleton found in England, had very dark skin and blue eyes. Let that sink in. Whiteness did not exist when the first civilizations were rising, which means the founders of Kemet, not white. The builders of Sumer, not white. The mound builders of Cahokia, not white. The creators of the Indus Valley, China's Shang dynasty, Olmecs, Inca, and Maya, not white. So when people ask, what did white people build? The answer is simple. They didn't build. They inherited. And when they realized that their numbers were small and their genes recessive, they panicked. Enter eugenics. Let's name names. Francis Galton, the father of eugenics, cousin to Darwin. Charles Davenport, eugenicist who pushed racial hygiene policies in the US. Harry Laughlin, architect of sterilization laws. Ernst Rudin, Nazi eugenics leader supported by American funding. The Rockefeller Foundation and Carnegie Institution, they funded the research, the labs, the policies. They all pushed the lie that white was not only right, but endangered. So they legislated it, sterilized non-white women, separated babies from their parents, and drew bloodlines to try and purify the impure. Why? Because they saw what was coming. You can't keep a mutation alive when the earth is healing. When the sun returns to its cycle, when people of color reconnect with their power, when rhythm, not reason, guides the future. And now they're saying everyone has melanin. Cute. But next time, let's break that down. Because not all melanin is created equal. There's a reason they study eumelanin, neuromelanin, and pheomelanin separately. There's a reason they mine melanin from fetal tissue in animals. There's a reason they patent it, and there's a reason why, despite all their technology, they can't synthesize the real thing. So no, this isn't just science, it's spiritual warfare through biology. And day 7, we're going to talk about why they fear the sun and what it means for
Guys, let's continue with this. The scholar begins by saying the demographic shift in America is more drastic than most people realize. She claims that behind closed doors, white leaders, the politicians, and think tanks are deeply worried about declining birth rates, the rising interracial marriages, and the loss of traditional white identity. According to her, this is the truth that powerful groups don't want publicly discussed because it challenges decades of racial narratives. She presents numbers predicting the white population could drop by as much as 78% over the coming decades. Whether people agree with the exact percentage or not, she argues that the downward trend is undeniable. White Americans are having fewer children, more white women are choosing to remain child-free, and a growing percentage are marrying partners from other races. This, she says, has created a quiet panic, especially in conservative communities. And mixed couples are on the rise, and the scholar highlights how interracial marriages involving the whites have skyrocketed. She says white Americans are forming families with black, the Latino, and Asian partners more than ever before. And because mixed race children aren't counted as white only, this trend contributes significantly to the shrinking white demographic. This increase has left some white nationalists, supremacists, and fearmongers feeling threatened and desperate. Yes. And they claim that the fear comes from one thing: loss of control. She claims that she explains that certain white groups feel that if the white population declines, their political, their cultural, and economic dominance declines with it. That's why you see the rise of extreme rhetoric, anti-immigrant agendas, and attempts to control education and reproductive rights. She calls this the last gap of a dying worldview. And across social media, many Black Americans are reacting with a mix of disbelief, amusement, and reflection. Some say the panic is ironic considering centuries of racial oppression. Others argue demographic shifts don't change the reality of systemic power. and this still is held by white institutions. But many simply feel that people should be free to marry and live how they want without fear-driven narratives. What does this mean for America, guys? The scholar says that the United States is becoming a more multiracial, multicultural society, and there is no turning back. She believes the real question is not whether whites are going extinct, but whether the nation can accept a future where power is shared rather than hoarded. Yes. So guys, let me know in the comments whether you think this truth is really being hidden and whether the fear around white decline is justified or exaggerated. Yeah, so don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, like the video, share the video widely, and share your thoughts in the comments, and also subscribe. Hit that notification bell, turn it on for more powerful reactions so that you can also not miss on the next episode, guys. Thank you for watching. Be blessed. Of course, all credit belongs to the original creators of the video. This video is meant for educational purposes and commentary purposes as well. Thank you so much. We are not here for any forming of harassment. Thank you. Be blessed and have a nice time.